Hey all, we open the program which we have been creating yesterday, JSON generator. All right. So see, we are having a raw data, this one where the values are like first name is Ram Kumar, last name, I guess it should have to be Ram, and then the last name is Kumar, and company is IBM. These all are the details of that data. These all are the details of that data. We wanted this data to be get converted into the JSON format. Now, we have been talking like to convert a data into JSON, we have a standard class for this, and the class name is JSON generator class. So in the Apex programming, we already have a class which is capable to convert a raw data into JSON format. So what I'm going to do would be like yesterday we have seen what are those methods, what are the methods of JSON generator. We're going to take the advantage of all those methods, not all those, maybe some of the methods of that JSON generator class, and we would going to convert that raw data in the form of JSON. Now, what is important over here, like we have started, like if you wanted to use the method, if you wanted to invoke any member of a class, if that member is a method, if that member is a variable, whatever has been defined inside a class, particularly it is called as member of a class, right? Whatever has been defined inside a class, it is called as member of a class. Now, if you wanted to use any member of a class, the first thing is to define an object of that class. Define an object of that class. Now, defining an object for a class is little bit different when you are dealing with custom classes, what you have created, and if you are dealing with the standard ones, which was there, which is there, which is already there, right? So there is a slight difference between the way we create an object. There is a slight difference between the way we create an object for a custom class and for a standard one. And let's see how we can create a object of JSON generator. Because what is my intention? What is our intention? We wanted to convert this data. We wanted to convert this data in the form of JSON format. So we are obviously not going through this manually. It cannot be done. We have to take we have to use some of the methods of this class, and these methods belongs to what? This method belongs to JSON generator. Now see here itself I have given like how you can how you can generate the object of a JSON generator class. I'll just copy this out and I'll paste it over here. So this is the way, this is the way we can generate an object of JSON generator class. How we have to do this? How we have to do this? How we have to do this? Let me comment out this one, and accordingly we're going to see, we're going to write down. So how we have to do this? We first of all would require to write down system dot JSON and then select generator. JSON generator, system dot JSON generator. Then give the name of object, any user given name, any user given name. I'll give a name, let's say as lead gen equals to system dot JSON dot create generator, right? Create generator. And as you can see, create generator is a method that accepts a Boolean parameter. So this Boolean parameter, we are always going to mention it true because we wanted this to be get happen. We wanted to use the methods so that they could convert data in the form of JSON, right? So we would going to give this parameter as true. Now see, this is the way, this is the way you would going to generate, you would going to create the object of a JSON generator class. Always, it has to be like this. You have to follow the same pattern every time, right? You have to follow the same pattern. What is that? System.json generator, then give an object name equals to system.json.create generator. And when you are utilizing create generator method, you'll have to give the Boolean parameter as true. Don't give it as false. Otherwise, even after defining, even after defining an object, it would not be able to work. All right. So that was the first thing. That was the first thing. And now we would move towards generation of JSON. So see how you are going to apply the methods, what method has to be applied and everything. That completely depends on what kind of data you are having. What kind of data you are having. See, this is that data. This is that data. You have to convert this. Now, whatever we have learned so far about JSON format, I would be utilizing the same knowledge. If I would ask you, if we wanted to convert this in the JSON, what is the first thing what you are going to write? The very first thing is like, JSON always starts and ends with a curly bracket. JSON always starts and ends with a curly bracket. Now, for an instance, I wanted you to understand, I wanted you to translate this curly bracket as object. Let's say this is not starting curly bracket. Let's say this would make, this would make you easy to understand. This would make this concept easy to understand. If you would start calling this opening curly bracket as start of object, and if you start calling the closing curly bracket as end of the object, what I wanted you to say, I wanted you to repeat with me. I wanted every one of you to repeat with me. Don't unmute yourself, but you can repeat this. You can repeat this. What? This symbol, which is actually a starting of a curly bracket, I wanted you, every one of you, to say, this is start of object. What is this? What is this? This is start of object. Whereas this symbol, which is a closing curly bracket, I wanted every one of you to say, this is end of the object. So from this onward, every time, whenever we would be looking into this symbol, we are going to say, particularly for the JSON, right? We are particularly till the time we are learning about JSON, we are talking about JSON. Whenever we are going to see this symbol, we are going to say that this is start of object, whereas this one is end of the object. All right. So accordingly, now this is my data. I wanted to convert this into JSON. JSON always start with start of the object and ends of the object. So what has to be written? The first thing, what has to be written? Start of object. Start of object. So is any method for this? Yes, of course we have. We have inside in JSON generator class, we have a method called write start object and write end object to end that conversation. Write start array, write end array, isn't it? All these are the methods. We don't have array symbol particularly over here. In this case, maybe with the next example, with the coming few examples, we're going to learn the symbols as well. But right now, this is the simplest one I have taken because that's the first example. So the very first thing, you always have to write on the method which you are going to use would be write start object. So see, inside in my program, from this onward, I am going to refer the methods of JSON generator. So I would be referring, every method has to be referred along with and the object. So the object I have already created for the JSON generator class, I have created a local object called leadGen, and that leadGen dot write start of object, as you can see. The first method which I'm going to invoke would be write start object. And very obviously, it is going to be end on write end of the object. Write end of the object. So the entire JSON which we are going to be written, that would always be enclosed within this. Do you find it relevant or not? Tell me. This represents, by the way, this symbol. This represents this symbol. And this would represent, by the way, this symbol. Right? This two of them represents this symbol. Every JSON has to be enclosed within this only, isn't it? Every JSON has to be enclosed within this only. So while writing, you would write it like down. But when we are constructing a program, this opening curly bracket is what? It's a method. Which method? Right start object. This closing curly bracket is what? It is again a method. If you wanted to write down if you wanted to write down this closing curly bracket, there's a particular method for that. What is that method? Right end object. And because these methods, they belong to a class called JSON generator. You know, if I wanted to use this method, I first of all would require to create an object of that JSON generator. And this is that syntax by which you can create an object of any name of this class. Right? I hope this makes sense to every one of you. Now, now, so see the entire JSON, entire JSON would be between this right start object and right end object. Right start object and right end object. Now, what is the next thing? You go to that, data. There's first name, and then the value is Ram. Then there's last name, the value is Kumar. This company, the value is this, right? To write down this is considered to be the field name, and this is value. This is field name, field name, field name, field name. Every time this whatever you see is field name. And to write down the field name, there is a method called as write field name. You would see this. Write field name, right? Write field name. For the value, it depends what kind of value. If the value is a number, there would be a method called write number. If the value is a string, write string. If the value is boolean, write boolean. If there is no value, write null. If the value is date, write date. All right. So this is how, this is how you have to work on it. So in the string, what we see, the first thing is, we first of all would going to write down this right field name, right? So I would be going to make a use of, let me go in the program and again lead gen dot right field name, right? Right field name. And you have to write down the field name because field name is always going to be a string. Strings inside in Apex program, they are always enclosed within single inverted comma, right? Right field. That is now. After writing field name, now I have to move on towards the value. I'll have to see what is the value. Value is RAM. What is the data type of this value? It's a string. It's a string, right? It's a string. So because the value is a string, because the value is string, I'll have to make a use of method. I would have to make a use of method called write string. Write string, right? This method. We'll have to make a use of string method called as write string. Now, what is the value? RAM. So I'll just copy and paste it out over here. All right, I'll just copy and paste it out over here. Now, in the same way, let's move on to the next one. So likewise, I would go with the next value. The first thing is always going to be the field name, right? For every case, the first thing is always going to be the field name. So I would have to write down a field name. I'll have to create this last name. I'll have to define this as a field name. So write field name, write field name. What is that field name? The field name is last name. I'll just quickly copy and paste it out over here. Last name, right? So I have defined this. Let's move on to the value. Value is Kumar, which is again a string, right? So I'm going to copy this one, paste it out over here. Lead gen dot write string because the value is a string. What is that? Kumar. Right? Chalo. Let me save this program. So here, if you would observe that this is just a single line. I mean, when it is represented, it is being represented like this in a single line. Let first name equals to Ram and then last name equals to Kumar. Company is this one, phone is this one, and likewise. So if you would have to observe one thing, to convert every single line, please concentrate. To convert every single line, inside in the program, I'm requiring what to say. I'm requiring two separate methods for every single record, for every single entity, not record, for every to represent a single entity. Like first name is an entity, last name is another entity, company is another entity. So this every entity to represent one entity inside in program, I am requiring two lines. One line to write down the name of the field, name of the field. The another one to define the value, right? अच्छा अगर मान के चलो जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल अगर मुझे इसको रिप्रेजेंट करना होता this annual revenue, so how would I am going to represent that? I would again write down lead gen dot write let's say field name. ठीक है मुझे सबसे पहले field name देनी पड़ती है. What is that field name? Annual revenue, right? What is that field name? The field name is annual revenue. I'll just copy and paste it out. उसके बाद में I'll come to the value part. अब मैं value पे चलता हूँ, ठीक है, value पे चलता, and because I can see the value over here is this number, right? Value is number. इसके पहले हमने क्या लिखा? Value was string, तो I have used write string for two of them. But अभी जैसे हमको दिख रहा है कि value is a number, so I would going to write number, right number, this one, right number, and then I would be going to give that number. वो जो number है, I'll have to give it directly, whatever the value of it is. ठीक है, इस तरह से. But every time, every time you have to use this. Every time you have to use this. Write field name. Write field name. For defining field name, then for the value, you have to use another method. If the value is a string value, you would be using write string. If the value is a number value, you would be using write number. If there is no value, you would be using write null. If the value is like date, you would be using write date, isn't it? So basically, basically what is happening, if we would follow this pattern, if we would follow this pattern, what is happening around, for to represent every single entity, we would require two separate methods in two separate lines. We would require two separate methods, one for defining field name and another one to define the value based on what data type the what is the data type of the value. Based on what is the data type of the value. If the value is a string, where we would be using write string. Accordingly, if the value is number, we would be using write number. If the value is, let's say, boolean, write null, write date, isn't it? So if you would have realized कि यार यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा ऐसा हो रहा है कि भाई एक एंटिटी को रिप्रेजेंट करने के लिए, एक सिंगल एंटिटी को रिप्रेजेंट करने के लिए हमें दो लाइंस ऑफ कोड लग रहा है. वी वुड रिक्वायर टू लाइंस ऑफ द कोड एंड टू सेपरेट मेथड्स ऑफ कोर्स. तो इसको इस तरह से ना करते हुए, इसको इस तरह से ना करते हुए, वी वुड बी गोइंग टू फॉलो अ सेपरेट डिफरेंट पैटर्न फॉर दिस. हम एक दूसरा पैटर्न फॉलो, ठीक है, इंस्टेड ऑफ डूइंग इट लाइक दिस, हम एक दूसरा पैटर्न फॉलो. तो कल जब मैं समझा रहा था तो आई वॉज टेलिंग यू दिस के देखिए हम I mean we have all these methods, like we have a method write field name. We also have the method write number, write string, write boolean, write null, write date. But we rarely would going to use that. I mean, instead of this, instead of like instead of that write string, we would be going to make a use of write string field. अब इसका क्या benefit है मैं बताता हूँ. Instead of using write number, like we just have used write string, we have used write number as well. So instead of using write string, I would be going to make a use of write string field. अभी आप देखेंगे कल मैंने ये बात कहा था, आज मैं उसको साबित कर रहा हूँ कि व्हाट इज द पर्पस ऑफ दिस. तो हमने पहले वो ड्रॉबैक रियलाइज किया कि अगर हम राइट फील्ड नेम या फिर हम राइट स्ट्रिंग और राइट नंबर ये लिखते हैं तो फिर हमें टू रिप्रेजेंट एवरी एंटिटी वी वुड रिक्वायर टू लाइंस ऑफ द कोड एटलीस्ट, है ना. ये आज हमने रियलाइज किया, तो उसका फिर इसका हल क्या है, तो वही हम बात कर रहे हैं अभी कि आप राइट स्ट्रिंग ना लिखते हुए यू वुड गोइंग टू राइट स्ट्रिंग फील्ड. कैसे मैं बताता हूँ. राइट नंबर ना लिखते हुए, वी वुड बी गोइंग टू मेक अ यूज ऑफ राइट नंबर फील्ड. राइट बुलियन ना लिखते हुए वी वुड बी गोइंग टू मेक अ यूज ऑफ राइट बुलियन फील्ड अकॉर्डिंगली, राइट डेट फील्ड है ना, इस तरह से। तो इससे क्या बेनिफिट मिलता है आपको, लेट्स सी दैट। अभी देखिए आप, आई वुड आस्क यू वन क्वेश्चन, or rather I would give you the answer directly. See this entity, see this entity, see this entity, this entity, this entity, this every one of them. Observe this. If I would ask you first name, what data type of value it is having? What is data type of RAM? String. What is data type of phone? It is again a string because in Salesforce phone and fax, these are represented as string. What is the data type of rating? यहाँ लिखा हुआ है hot, which is again a string. What is the data type of status? String. What is the data type of industry? यहाँ वैल्यू है बैंकिंग और बैंकिंग एक स्ट्रिंग है. व्हाट इज द डेटा टाइप ऑफ एनुअल रेवेन्यू? नंबर. व्हाट इज द डेटा टाइप ऑफ डीओबी? डेट. तो बेस्ड ऑन बेस्ड ऑन बेस्ड ऑन बेस्ड ऑन व्हाट इज द डेटा टाइप ऑफ वैल्यू, ध्यान से सुनिए मेरी बात. बेस्ड ऑन व्हाट इज द डेटा टाइप ऑफ वैल्यू, based on what is the data type of value, string, number, date. Based on what is the data type of value, we would be using methods like write string field, write number field, write date field, write boolean field. कैसे based on क्या बोला मैंने, based on the data type of value, based on the data type of value. अब ध्यान से सुनो. if if your value if your value is string, if your value is string, you would be going to use write string field. If your value is a number, you would be using write numerical field, number field, sorry. If the value is boolean, you would be using write boolean field. If the value is date, write date, write date. If the value is date time, write date time field. So see, what is the benefit of using write string field over write string, or write number field over write number, is that, if you would observe this method, it have two parameters. You can give the key name along with value, every one of them, key name along with the value. Now if the value is a string, use write string. Key name is always going to be string, right? Now if the value is number, use write. If the value is boolean, write boolean. So कैसा था, ये जो हमारी मेथड्स है ना, इसमें सिर्फ एक ही पैरामीटर रहता है. ये जो हमारी मेथड्स हैं जो अभी हमने यूज करी, जैसे आपने लिखा राइट फील्ड नेम, इट हैव ओनली वन पैरामीटर. फील्ड नेम देने के बाद आपको वैल्यू के लिए एक अलग मेथड लग रही थी. फील्ड नेम देने के बाद आपको वैल्यू के लिए अलग अलग मेथड लग रही थी, बेस्ड ऑन व्हाट टाइप ऑफ वैल्यू इट इज. फील्ड नेम की तो एक ही मेथड है राइट फील्ड में, ठीक है, लेकिन बेस्ड ऑन वैल्यू, वैल्यू क्या है, वैल्यू अगर स्ट्रिंग है. सो बेस्ड ऑन व्हाट टाइप ऑफ वैल्यू है ना, आपको अलग से एक मेथड पुट ऑन करनी पड़ रही थी. अभी हम वही वही रिक्वायरमेंट को फिर से करेंगे. अभी देखो, we'll going to reduce this code, because I always have told you that we should try to optimize the code as far as possible, isn't it? We always, in the Apex programming, or in the entire Salesforce ecosystem, we always work under a tight governor limit, a very strict governor limit, right? We always have been imposed a certain rule that has to be followed in every case. आप उसको इग्नोर नहीं कर सकते बॉस. तो जब आपको, जैसा मैंने कई बार रिपीट भी कर चुका हूँ ये बात, कि एपेक्स प्रोग्राम की अगर हम बात करें तो देयर आर टू टाइट गवर्नर लिमिट्स, इंक्लूडिंग ऑल ऑफ द कोड्स ऑफ योर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. आपके ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में जितना भी कोडिंग किया हुआ है उन सबको मिला के, सिर्फ आपके प्रोग्राम की बात नहीं हो रही है यहाँ पे. हम सब एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में है, बहुत सारे डेवलपर्स हैं, बहुत सारे कोड्स किए गए हैं, बहुत सारी क्लासेस बनाई गई है, बहुत सारे ट्रिगर्स बनाए गए हैं, बहुत सारे बैच प्रोग्राम्स लिखे गए हैं, टेस्ट क्लास को छोड़ के. टेस्ट क्लास इस गवर्नर लिमिट में काउंट नहीं होता है। तो टेस्ट क्लास को छोड़ के बाकी जितना कुछ भी लिखा हुआ है उन सारी चीजों को मिला के मैक्सिमम हमारी जो गवर्नर लिमिट है वो इस तरह से है कि भाई आप यू कैन नॉट एक्सीड, यू कैन नॉट गो बियॉन्ड 60 लाख लाइन्स ऑफ 60 लाख कैरेक्टर्स। सारे कैरेक्टर्स जो प्रोग्राम में यूज किए गए हैं सारे प्रोग्राम्स को मिला के दैट शुडंट गो बियॉन्ड 60 लाख, और नंबर ऑफ लाइन्स ऑफ द कोड इज 1 लाख। तो ये एक बहुत स्ट्रिक्ट गवर्नर लिमिट है। सो वी एज अ डेवलपर वी ऑलवेज ट्राई टू ऑप्टिमाइज द कोड, राइट? दिस इज अ गुड कोडिंग। एनीवेज चलो मैं प्रोग्राम कंटिन्यू करता हूँ बिकॉज ये प्रोग्राम कल से पेंडिंग पड़ा हुआ है हमारा। सो सी लीड जेन, lead gen is, I'll just simply copy this, would help me out. Lead gen dot. Now, the first thing what I have seen is, right, कि भाई जो मेरा पहला एंटिटी है वो है फर्स्ट नेम, उसकी वैल्यू है राम। जो पहली एंटिटी हमने देखा वो उसका मैं की वैल्यू जो की है वो आपका है फर्स्ट नेम और उसका वैल्यू है राम। अब ये राम जो है ये स्ट्रिंग है, ये स्ट्रिंग है। तो बेस्ड ऑन दैट आई मीन इंस्टेड ऑफ यूजिंग राइट स्ट्रिंग, या हम राइट फील्ड नेम लेते थे फिर राइट स्ट्रिंग देते थे, तो अभी मैं दूसरी मेथड यूज कर रहा हूँ यहाँ पे, आप देख सकते हो राइट स्ट्रिंग फील्ड मेथड। इंस्टेड ऑफ यूजिंग राइट स्ट्रिंग मैं क्या ले रहा हूँ, राइट स्ट्रिंग फील्ड। और इस राइट स्ट्रिंग फील्ड को एज यू कैन सी देयर आर टू पैरामीटर्स। पहला पैरामीटर तो हमेशा स्ट्रिंग ही रहेगा हर इसमें, हर इसमें, चाहे आप राइट स्ट्रिंग फील्ड लो, चाहे राइट नंबर फील्ड लो, चाहे राइट बुलियन फील्ड लो, हर इसमें पहला जो है ना वो स्ट्रिंग रहेगा। क्यों? बिकॉज वो फील्ड नेम को रिप्रेजेंट करता है एंड फील्ड नेम्स आर ऑलवेज स्ट्रिंग। हाँ, अब ये राइट स्ट्रिंग है तो दूसरा पैरामीटर स्ट्रिंग रहेगा। राइट नंबर फील्ड होता दूसरा पैरामीटर नंबर होता, राइट बुलियन फील्ड होता दूसरा पैरामीटर बुलियन होता। इट इज एज सिंपल, ये बहुत सिंपल चीज है, कोई रॉकेट साइंस नहीं है ये। ठीक है, तो हम यहाँ पे अब ये दो चीजें थी यहाँ पे, यू कैन सी देयर आई मीन एक एंटिटी को रिप्रेजेंट करने के लिए दो लाइन दो मेथड्स लग रही थी ना, उसको मैं एक ही मेथड से रिप्रेजेंट करता हूँ। यहाँ पे हमें क्या चाहिए, वी वुड रिक्वायर दिस फर्स्ट नेम, फर्स्ट नेम इज ऑलवेज स्ट्रिंग, भाई इसको हमने यहाँ पे कर लिया। एंड बिकॉज आपकी वैल्यू जो है वो भी स्ट्रिंग है ना, आपकी वैल्यू भी स्ट्रिंग है, तो लाइक दिस। अब देखो ये टू लाइंस ऑफ द कोड जो है ना इसको आपने रिप्रेजेंट कर दिया सिंगल लाइंस। So this seems to be more optimized, right? And this pattern we would going to follow this output. So इसके बाद में in the same way lead gen dot. Next is आपको फिर से वही है कुमार the last name. So write string field, write string field. फिर से मैं यही मेथड यूज कर रहा हूँ और इस बार जो फील्ड नेम है, फील्ड नेम का वैल्यू है लास्ट नेम और इसका वैल्यू है कुमार। कुमार इज अ स्ट्रिंग। इसके बाद में हम आगे बढ़ते हैं। हाँ, next is what? Next is company, right? Next is company. So I would be using this lead gen dot write string field name. ठीक है, field name है company. I would be copying this company and the value. The value is IBM. ठीक है, then next lead gen dot write string field name. Next, it is title. Title है sales. So I would be replacing this with title और title है उसका sales. 1 second guys. Yes. चलो. What is next? The next is phone. Phone is also a string because in Salesforce we represent phone as a string value. So lead gen dot write string field And then let me replace this with field name is phone, and let me copy the value of this. Value is this one. I'll quickly paste it out. And then the next is lead gen dot what is next? Status, which is also a string. So write string field, write string field. Status, let me copy the value as well. The value is open, not contracted. All right. Semicolon is required at this. The next is, what is next? Rating. So rating is also a string. So it would be like lead gen dot write string field, write string field. So this is the benefit of using this. You can minimize two lines of code into single one, and that is what is the benefit. You can make it more optimized. The value is hot, and then lead gen dot. I guess the next is industry. All right. So write again the string field industry. The value, the field name is industry, and the value is whatever. Let's say banking. The next is annual revenue. You can see the value is a number. So based on, because the value is number, I'll have to select a different method this time. Write lead gen dot write. अभी मैं string field नहीं लूंगा. I would rather use write number field. Right. I would be using this write number field. So the first name and the field name should always have to be a string, right? Annual revenue. And the value, because this is a number, you'll have to give it directly. You don't have to write it down within the inverted commas or anything. The next is city. City is a number, so I would be using like lead gen dot write string field, and city. The value is a string. Value is a string like Nagpur, and then the next is like lead gen dot write date field, write date field, write date field. It is DOB, date of birth. Is happening here. DOB. This is, I'm having a little confusion over here, like how do we represent dates? So let me try to copy this like this only. Let's see whether it would give any error. In that case, I'll have to check it. There are certain errors over here. Found punctuation symbols, or somewhere I have some extra commas maybe, or hyphen I have put it up. Dgen dot write date field, end of right end of the object. What is the error? Just give me a moment. I'll have to cross
सर
verify this. Yeah, tell me.
सर लास्ट सेकंड लाइन में आपने सेमीकोलन नहीं दिया है, इस शायद उससे
Oh yes, ये तो हो जाएगा. इसके Let's try to save this one. ये क्या प्रॉब्लम है? इसको डेट के साथ इशू है. यहाँ पे मैंने क्या गड़बड़ कर रखी है? राइट स्ट्रिंग फील्ड टाइटल और सेज. कोई एक्स्ट्रा सिंबल है क्या जो कीबोर्ड से प्रेस हो गया? क्या बोल रहा है, कौन सा सिंबल है? हाँ ये रहा, ये देखो, ये यहाँ पे एक छोटा सा सिंबल है, तो कीबोर्ड से प्रेस हो गया, तो ठीक है. If I would try to give this like this, let's see what happens. Otherwise हमको गूगल करना पड़ेगा इसको. We'll have to check it out कि right date field में how the date instances are. It is not even accepting this. Let's see. Let's try to Google this one. Right, if you would be using, see the blog of this person. Let's try to understand what kind of format. Right, specified date values. Date field. Start object, field name. Right, let's try to ask this to ChatGPT. सी चैट जीपीटी के पास इसका सोल्यूशन है क्या? अदरवाइज फिर गूगल सेल्सफोर्स के डॉक्यूमेंट्स होते हैं, आपको वहाँ रेफर करना पड़ता है. फॉर ट्राइंग टू यूज अ मेथड कॉल्ड दिस वन विद टू स्ट्रिंग्स पैरामीटर. It is suggesting something else. Like you first of all would require to declare a date variable. Date dot new instances को define करो, and यहाँ पे year, I guess this is date. नहीं, ईयर मंथ और डेट ऐसा होना चाहिए. एक बार ये ट्राई करके देखते हैं. लेट्स ट्राई दिस वन. पहली बात तो इसको स्ट्रिंग से हटा लेते हैं. ठीक है, सबसे पहली एंटिटी ईयर रखते हैं, एंड देन ईयर कॉमा, ईयर कॉमा 10 कॉमा 2. लेट्स ट्राई टू सेव दिस वन. ये एक्सेप्ट करता है क्या? नहीं. ठीक है. सो ये क्या सजेस्ट कर रहा है? ये सजेस्ट कर रहा है कि यू वुड डिक्लेयर अ वेरिएबल फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल. राइट, यू वुड डिक्लेयर अ वेरिएबल instead of using this directly, somewhere in the program just declare a variable, date variable, because date itself is a data type, right? And date dot new instance is basically that method by which you can define a date without defining time stamps, right? So, and now what you can give is like, instead of giving date directly inside this, you can mention the name of that. You can mention the name of that. That is what it is suggesting. This variable, I can mention this over here. Let me try with this one. Let's see what happens, whether this works or not. अदर हाँ काम कर गया. ठीक है, फिर भी मैं थोड़ा सा और रिसर्च करता हूँ इस पे, एंड और मैं ढूंढ के निकालने की कोशिश करता हूँ कि राइट डेट फील्ड में if we wanted to give date as a second parameter, in which particular format we can give, in which particular format we can give. Does it requires a timestamps also? अगर टाइम स्टैम्प लगेगा तो फिर हमको डेट डॉट इंस्टेंस, ये जो मेथड है यही यूज करना पड़ता है. एक्चुअली डेट जो है ना, डेट एक ऐसा डेटा टाइप है अपेक्स में जो टाइम स्टैम्प के साथ स्टोर होता है. तो जब भी आपको टाइम स्टैम्प की वैल्यू हटानी, आवर्स मिनट्स एंड सेकंड्स, आवर्स कोलन मिनट्स कोलन सेकंड, ये टाइम स्टैम्प होता है. तो जब भी आपको टाइम स्टैम्प की वैल्यू हटा के डेट लिखना होता है, तब हम डेट डॉट न्यू इंस्टेंस वैल्यू यूज, ये मेथड यूज करते हैं. तो मैं थोड़ा सा रिसर्च करता हूँ और मैं पता लगाता हूँ कि राइट डेट फील्ड जब मेथड हम यूज करते हैं, तो सेकंड पैरामीटर में जब हमने डेट डालनी है, तो क्या उस मोमेंट पे हमको टाइम स्टैम्प देना जरूरी होता है? अगर टाइम स्टैम्प देना जरूरी होता है तो मिनिमम जो वैल्यू उसकी रह सकती है दैट इज 0 1, एज एन आर 0 1, एज एन मिनट 0 1, और सेकंड इज 0 1। दिस इज द वैल्यू, एक डिफॉल्ट वैल्यू हम देते हैं। फिर अगर इफ वी इफ इट इज कंपल्सरी एंड वी हैव टू नोट इट डाउन एवरी टाइम, तो फिर एक वैल्यू डिफाइन की गई है, एक जनरल वैल्यू कि 0 1 कोलन 0 1 कोलन 0 1, ये वैल्यू दे दी जाती है। तो मैं थोड़ा सा पता लगाता हूँ, और अगर टाइम स्टैम्प हटा के देना है तो दिस इज द ओनली सोल्यूशन। तो ये ओनली सोल्यूशन होता है कि आप पहले डेट में से टाइम स्टैम्प हटा दें। हाउ? बाय यूजिंग डेट डॉट न्यू इंस्टेंस फंक्शन। उसके बाद जो फिर जो डेट बचती है, केवल डेट, वो फिर आप जहाँ चाहे वो यूज करें। ठीक है, यहाँ ये काम तो कर रहा है, इट्स अ गुड पार्ट। बट फिर भी थोड़ा सा मैं एक बार सेल्सफोर्स के डॉक्यूमेंट में जाके ये पता लगाता हूँ कि लाइक हाउ वी कैन गेट। वैसे एक और तरीका हो सकता है ना, मतलब आई थिंक, आई मीन, ठीक है, ये भी सही है। आई थिंक वी कैन गिव इट लाइक दिस एज वेल, मतलब ऐसा ना करते हुए एक और तरीका है। लीड जेन डॉट राइट, या था वो डेट फील्ड, ठीक है, राइट डेट फील्ड, मतलब इसको इस तरह से ये भी कर सकते हैं हम लोग। हम दो लाइन ऑफ कोड क्यों करें? वी कैन ऑप्टिमाइज दिस लाइक दिस एज वेल। मतलब यहाँ पे आपको डेट ऑफ बर्थ का वैल्यू चाहिए है ना, यहाँ पे यू वांटेड डेट ऑफ बर्थ का वैल्यू, तो उसको हम डायरेक्टली ये फंक्शन से भी कॉल कर सकते हैं। आई वाज ट्राइंग टू से कि हम ऐसा भी कर सकते हैं इसको, दो लाइंस ऑफ कोड लिखने के बजाय, है ना, दो लाइंस ऑफ कोड लिखने के बजाय एक बार कोड, एक बार डेट डॉट इंस्टेंस डिफाइन करो, फिर उसको वेरिएबल में लो, फिर उस वेरिएबल की वैल्यू यहाँ लो, जो चैट जीपीटी आपको बता रहा था। तो वो ठीक है, लेकिन उसमें एरर नहीं, लेकिन दो दो लाइंस ऑफ कोड लग रहा है ना, उसको हम एक ही इसमें ऑप्टिमाइज कर देते हैं ना। वी कैन डू इट लाइक दिस, हम ऐसा भी तो कर सकते हैं। एंड लेट मी ट्राई टू सेव दिस कोड, लेट्स से हमें कोई एरर मिलता है क्या? वी डोंट गेट एनी एरर, राइट? तो आई गेस ये ज्यादा सही है। तो हमें चैट जीपीटी बता रहा था कि हम पहले वेरिएबल डिफाइन कर रहे हैं और उसके उसको मेथड में यूज करें, उसमें प्रॉब्लम कुछ नहीं, सही है, बट दो लाइंस लग रही है। उससे अच्छा हम ऐसा करते हैं, जब अगर हमें डेट डॉट न्यू इंस्टेंस ही यूज करना है, तो फिर हम उसको ऑप्टिमाइज कर लेते हैं और हम उसको इसी इसी पोजीशन पे जहाँ पे उसकी वैल्यू चाहिए थी, वहां पे डायरेक्ट हम डेट डॉट न्यू इंस्टेंस ही लिख देते हैं। ठीक है, चलो, ऑलराइट। नाउ दिस वुड कंप्लीट। अब इसका आउटपुट भी तो हमें देखना है कि हमने ये सब कन्वर्ट किया है, तो क्या ये आउटपुट वैसा आ रहा है? तो आफ्टर दिस, आफ्टर दिस end of the object, after this end of the object, I would going to write a system.debug JSON data equals to plus lead gen dot. There's a method called as get as string, get as string. Now this method would always going to return a string parameter, string value. So this value is going to be in this format. तो ये system.debug में जब हमने ये statement दिया get as a string, तो हमको values नजर आ जाएंगी। ठीक है, values नजर आ जाएंगी। All right, let's now execute this program. So how would you going to execute? It's pretty simple. This method is a static method. Every static method you can call it directly just by putting the name of class dot name of the method, right? Name of the method. I'll just do it quickly and a semicolon, and let's now execute this. And let's go to debug only. You would going to see this is your JSON format, right? So that data is now converted into JSON. Start of object, end of object, right? String field, string field, string field, string field, string field, right number field, and right date field, right? So this is the way you can convert a raw data into JSON format by using JSON generator class, the methods of JSON generator class. Go with this example. Go with this example. Let me see if I have any assignments for you. Yeah, there are few assignments. Like this is one example. This is a data. I wanted every one of you to convert this. This is a data. All right. This is a data. Then this one is also a data. So convert this. Now, in the next session, I would be going to show you like this was about a raw data. ये सारे raw data है ना. This was just a raw example. ये सारे raw examples थे. But मुद्दे की बात, how would you going to convert S object records into JSON format? Like in the next session, we would be going to represent जैसे कि हमें account की record all तो नहीं लूंगा मैं, कुछ limit करूंगा. ऑल नहीं, 5 अकाउंट रिकॉर्ड, ऑल तो बहुत ज्यादा हो जाएगा। लेट्स से 5 अकाउंट रिकॉर्ड्स या 10 कॉन्टैक्ट रिकॉर्ड को आप कैसे जेसन में कन्वर्ट कर सकते हो। तो उस वक्त हमें क्या रहेगा, सी अभी हमने जस्ट वी हैव जस्ट हार्ड कोडेड एवरीथिंग, ये हमने हार्ड कोड किया, फर्स्ट नेम राम है और फर्स्ट नेम राम, दिस वैल्यूज हैव बीन हार्ड कोडेड, ये सारी वैल्यूज जो है वो आपकी हार्ड कोडेड वैल्यूज हैं। बट अभी इसके आगे आप देखेंगे कि वी वुड फायर अ क्वेरी, गेट द डेटा, स्टोर इट इनसाइड मे बी अ लिस्ट कलेक्शन, है ना, वी वुड फायर अ क्वेरी, गेट द डेटा फ्रॉम द रेस्पेक्टिव ऑब्जेक्ट, वी वुड गोइंग टू स्टोर इट इनसाइड दैट कलेक्शन, और कलेक्शन को फिर हम इटरेट करके we would be going to convert every each record, we are going to convert each record on in the JSON format. So this is going to be the next program, right? In the next session. That's all for today. You have like around 5 or 6 minutes. If you wanted to ask anything, please ask. Any questions around this? Any questions? Any questions? All right then. Thank you so much for joining. Have a nice day.